rest of that part, and I'll have a roll call.
Commissioner Bohar. Commissioner Coleman.
Here.
Chair Cribb.
Here.
Commissioner Seck.
Here.
Commissioner McDonald.
Here.
Okay, even though there are very few of us here, just a reminder to everybody to put their digital and analog devices into silent mode. And I'd like to ask Commissioner Seck to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any comments from members of the public on an item not appearing on tonight's agenda? All right, seeing none. Just check with commissioners. We're all good with agenda item being done as agenda item number 1 tonight? Okay. Let's then go to approval of minutes. We'll start with the meeting of March 23rd. Any comments, amendments to those minutes before we approve them? Do I hear a motion to accept?
I move that we accept them.
Yes.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have the minutes to the meeting of April 27th. Any comments or amendments to those minutes before we accept them?
I have one comment. I realize that I can be a bore up here, but my name is spelled wrong. It does come out to bore. On the second page, under the Chair Cribb closed out public comment, roll call vote. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of April 27th.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those minutes are now accepted into record. All right, any late correspondence?
A couple of items, all related to item number 1. Correspondence from Suzanne Brigham, Joseph Aaron, Mark and Mona Couchman, and James and Jill Kamahele.
Thank you, David. All right, now we will move on to agenda item number 1. Agenda item number 1 is the consideration of an exception to the side yard setback and requirements to construct an addition to a residence at 275 East Napa Street. May I have staff's report?
Yes, thank you, Chair Cribb and members of the commission. The subject property is a 9,272 square foot parcel located on the south side of East Napa Street, near its intersection with 3rd Street East. The site is currently developed with a 2-story residence with an attached garage constructed in 1963. The property owners are requesting an exception from the side yard setback requirements to construct an 825 square foot addition to the residence that would accommodate a bedroom and a bathroom on each floor and a laundry room. The exception relates primarily to the bedroom addition on the first floor, which would be in line with and extend the non-conforming 5-foot setback on the west side of the home to provide a larger layout. In total, the project would increase the living area of the residence from 1,639 square feet to 2,464 square feet. The proposal is consistent with the general plan. With regard to development code consistency, the property is zoned low-density residential, and single-family homes and related accessory structures are permitted uses in the low-density zoning district. The proposed addition is consistent with the property's zoning in terms of use. A 20-foot front yard setback is required. A majority of the area of the addition is proposed at the back of the residence, well outside the front yard setback, although a small 35 square foot addition is proposed in front of the existing garage to accommodate a laundry room, which is also outside the front yard setback area. A 20-foot rear yard setback is required, and the area of addition at the back of the home would be set back a minimum of 60 feet from the rear property line. A 7-foot side yard setback is required, and a combined side yard setback must total 18 feet. In addition, an additional 3 feet of setback is required for every 5 feet of height above 15 feet. And the project does not comply with this requirement in that the addition would be set back 5 feet from the west property line, encroaching 2 feet into the required setback, which is also in line with the existing east building wall. The applicant is requesting an exception from the side yard setback requirements, and staff would note that the second-story setbacks do comply with the additional setback requirement. The maximum coverage in this zone is 40%, and the project would increase the lot coverage from 13 to 17%, and a maximum floor area ratio is 0.35, and the project would increase the floor area ratio from 0.18 to 0.27. The maximum building height is 30 feet, and the addition is 2-story with a maximum height of 23 feet. Additions to single-family homes constructed after 1944 are exempt from architectural review by the Design Review and Historic Preservation Commission. With regard to the setback exception approval, the Planning Commission may grant exceptions from setback standards, provided that the following findings can be made. 1, that the adjustment authorized by the exception is consistent with the general plan, and the residential use associated with the setback exception request is consistent with the property's low-density residential land use designation and zoning. 2, an exception to the normal standards of the development code is justified by environmental features or site conditions, historic development patterns of the property or neighborhood, or in the interest in promoting creativity and personal expression in site planning and development. In part, the exception request relates to site conditions and the historic development pattern of the property in the neighborhood. Similar to many parcels on East Napa Street, the property is non-conforming in terms of the minimum lot width requirement. The property has a width of 60 feet versus the current lot width requirement of 65 feet. In addition, 5-foot side yard setbacks are common for homes along East Napa Street, including the adjacent home to the west, as they were constructed in the 1960s prior to the current side yard setback requirement. And these conditions provide a basis for allowing an exception from the setback requirements. And 3, granting the exception will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, or injurious to the property or improvements in the vicinity and in the same zoning district. The properties to the east and west would be most affected by the project. However, the 5-foot setback proposed on the west side of the addition is typical of conditions found throughout the neighborhood and consistent with the existing home. The bedroom addition on this side has a length of 19 feet and no windows are proposed. Although windows are proposed on the upper and lower additions of the east elevation, privacy issues will not be an issue as the windows will not face towards the structures on the adjacent properties. And for these reasons, staff feels that the proposal is generally compatible with the neighborhood conditions and would not significantly impact other properties. With regard to discussion of project issues, with regard to the side yard setback, the proposal complies with all zoning regulations except for the side yard setback requirements, and the property is non-conforming in terms of the minimum lot width requirement. In staff's view, the setback exception is consistent with the site neighborhood conditions and would be generally compatible with properties in the vicinity. And staff did not identify any compatibility issues in the review of the project, so staff recommends approval of the setback exception, subject to conditions of approval, and that concludes staff's report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Atkins. Any questions of staff on that report?
Wendy, I sort of have an informational question about this. Tell me if I'm out of line here. I looked through the regulations about parking amendment. I see nothing that require additional parking spaces, or even though the bedrooms goes up from 3 to 4. Is that true? There's no review of parking regulations or something?
Sure, so the parking requirement for a single-family residence is one covered parking space,
Right.
regardless of the number of
I saw
bedrooms.
that. Just a point of information. Does that seem like something that should be changed in the future?
Possibly. The city is looking at updating its parking regulations. That's something that's going to be in front of the Planning Commission at some point within the near future.
Any other questions? Okay. Is the applicant in the audience? Would you like to address the commission? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Tim Farfan. I'm the applicant of this item, and we live at 281 East Napa Street, just next door to this property.
Is there anything you want to add to what?
No, I just wanted to thank you for coming out for our one item tonight. And we did a couple of different reviews of the property and different plans. Some of them, the first one required a variance, which staff could not support based on your parameters. So I worked with the staff to come up with a plan that was more in line with the size of the property, except for this one exception. And if you have any other questions of what you've seen in the packet.
Sure. Any questions of the applicant from members of the commission? No, great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Are there any members of the public that would like to address this item? Okay, seeing none, then I'll return it to the commission for our discussion. We'll start to the far right. Commissioner Bohar, your comments?
I went down during the week and reviewed the project. I think it's an excellent project, and it certainly will be an improvement to the neighborhood. And I think I could certainly support the exception to the setback, because it is consistent with the neighbors and it's consistent with the neighborhood. Thank you.
Commissioner Coleman?
I did not meet the applicants, but I did check out the property, and I appreciated the information, the detailed history of the Cape Cod prefab homes of that era, and how popular they were, and how your attempt to kind of give it a facelift, give it the elegance that I think it deserves. It has a lot of potential, and I think the exception should be approved, because sometimes that whole process of creativity and personal expression, it seemed to fit this. The fact that the setback wasn't going to be complied with, it was in line with the east end, and it would be to me, I prefer a line anyway to be true all the way through instead of jagged, and it does not meet the requirements. But in 2003, they, obviously that affected the new homes, but it's always a little dilemma, but not in this case. I would certainly grant this exception.
Thank you. The Commissioner Seck?
It seems that everything complies with the project except for the side yard setback, which the applicant is requesting 2 feet, which I would support. I think it'll be a great project when finished, and I'm excited to see it.
Commissioner McDonald?
Wanted to thank the applicants for putting together a very nice plan that's tasteful. I support the exception. I believe the addition and the project's consistent with the neighborhood and street. One of the things that I also like about this is the fact that it reduces the visibility of the garage entry, reducing it from a 2 to a 1-car garage, which is something that is important to me. Also, the overall floor area is minimal comparative to the size of the lot. And the garage already is in the setback area, so the addition and the second-story addition is compliant with the setback, so I don't really see a problem with that. And again, privacy is maximized by reducing the number of windows which face onto people's rear yards in the neighborhood, so I'm fully supportive of this project.
All right. I really have nothing extra to add. I agree with all my commissioners. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the exception at 275 East Napa Street.
Second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Do I need a roll call vote?
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner Seck,
Aye.
Commissioner McDonald,
Aye.
Chair Cribb.
Aye. All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and great luck. All right. Okay, then we'll move on to issues update.
That's at your
Goodison.
place.
Anybody have any questions or anything about the issues update? I think earlier, maybe you know, I think Commissioner Bohar was asking on the upholding the appeal, what the vote was. Is that what your question was?
Curious what the vote was on the Merlot project appeal to the city council.
As I recall, it was 4-1.
Yes, do you recall who the dissenting vote was?
I believe it was Councilmember Harrington.
Okay, great. All right, anything else? All right, any comments on any unrelated topics by members of the commission?
The commission appointment process, is there any way we're, as commissioners, we're going to have a say in this process, or is it going to be closed door?
Well, it's not closed door. The
To us,
council
I mean.
needs to discuss this in open session, and they always have. But in terms of having a say in the process, I mean, at this point, the way to have that say would be to write to the council, talk to a council member, or go to a council meeting when it next comes up. And I don't have a date on that in this issues update because I'm not sure when it's going to come back up again. I believe it won't be until September, though. We'll let you know when there is a date that this is coming back. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this was some information that was emailed to the commission earlier. We do have an APA conference, that's the American Planning Association Conference, California chapter, coming up in Sacramento this year. And if any commissioner is interested in attending that conference, while we couldn't pay for a hotel room, we would happily pay for your attendance there. And it's not like you would need to stay overnight necessarily. If there was just some, we'll send you out the schedule of workshops and sessions that they're having. So if there's, even if you want to go for a day, you'd be perfectly welcome to do that. So.
I'm brand new at this. Could you make any comment about that? Does it happen periodically? And what kind of things are focused on?
Well, it happens annually, but it moves around. So, last year it was in, where the heck was it? I don't even remember, but Pasadena, that's right. So, needless to say, Pasadena would not have been an option last year. But this year, since it's in Sacramento, that's, not the best drive, but it's not the worst. So we wanted to extend the invitation. And the workshops and sessions that they have, it's just an incredibly wide range. So we'll get you that schedule. And if there's anything that looks interesting to you, let us know and we'll get you signed up.
Great.
When will the schedule come out? Have events?
Oh, it's out, and I can send that out to you tomorrow.
Oh, microphone, Mr. Bohar.
I had a question about the recent article in the paper about the hospital's empty lot and the idea of possibly using it for housing. So I was wondering if staff had the opportunity to talk with the hospital or what might be happening with that.
Well, we have had just general conversations with the hospital about the property, just to make sure that they're on the same page in terms of communicating just what the property is zoned for and that sort of thing. But the property is zoned for residential development. It has a zoning designation of Sonoma residential, which allows up to 11 units per acre, I believe.
Okay, great. Would this be something that might be an issues update item so we could keep track of?
Oh, I'm happy to add that to the issues update. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
On that note, I did read there are 3 contractors who have proposed plans, and then there's another one that came at the 11th hour who's hoping to be included in how they're going to develop it with a residential component. All are local too, I believe.
Great. Anything from anybody else? All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I second it.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
New record? Okay.
Stall for as long as
It's going to be a long-lived record.
I think I'm sure.
lighting is provided by Sonoma Paint Center, located at 815 West Napa Street. For more information, you can go to sonomapaintcenter.com. And Larbury Automotive, located at 18155 Sonoma Highway. For more information, you can go to larburyauto.com.